You know, there are elements that we need to possess before we go into this book that are absolutely critical, so that when we go, the things that Paul intended to say are the very things that we receive, and the things he didn't say are the things that we're going to reject. That being said, if you remember last week, we broke into Acts 15, and in Acts 15, we saw men from Judea came down to Antioch, and they started to tell the brethren that unless you're circumcised, you cannot be saved. And we saw the controversy erupt. We saw the fact that Paul and Barnabas would not back down. They contended them. They went toe-to-toe with them, saying, stop, time out. They don't have to be circumcised. The contention got so hot. It just got hotter and hotter. They said the only way to resolve this, we need to go up to Jerusalem. We need to go up to the highest court in the land. We're going to pick it up there. We're going to continue on in verse 3. And Paul and Barnabas, they're making their way to Jerusalem. And this is what we read. So being sent on their way by the church, they passed through Phoenicia and Samaria, describing the conversion of the Gentiles. And they caused great joy to all the brethren. Verse 4. And when they had come to Jerusalem, they were received by the church and the apostles and the elders, and they reported all the things that God had done with them. Okay, so get this. I mean, what's being described here? The church, the ecclesia, the church, the apostles, the elders, everyone who needs to be there is present. The entire church is present. And here you have Paul and Barnabas in their midst. And they're telling him all the wonderful things, the miracles and the wonders and the awesome things that their eyes have seen in regard to what the Lord was doing with both the Jew and the Gentiles. Now, what's interesting is within this group, this ecclesia that was in Jerusalem, there were believing Pharisees present. You will notice something. They're the first ones to respond to Paul and Barnabas' testimony. And this is what they say. But some of the sect of the Pharisees who believed rose up saying, it is necessary to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses. They're not unclear. They heard Paul and Barnabas' testimony that men came down and they said, unless you're circumcised, you can't be saved. These Pharisees hear the testimony. They rise up and said, that's exactly right. Why are these Pharisees, believing Pharisees, why are they so adamant that the Gentiles coming into Israel, coming into the faith, that they have to be circumcised? We can answer that question by posing another. What is a Pharisee? What is a Pharisee? He is an expert in the Torah. This is one who devoted his life to the study of Torah, to the teaching of Torah, and even in matters of judgment. And so why are these Pharisees being so adamant? The answer is because they know the Torah. And what is within the Torah? This very command. So let's take a look at this in Genesis 17, verse 1. When Avram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Avram and said to him, Ani El Shaddai, I am Almighty God. Walk before me and be blameless, and I will make my covenant between me and you, and will multiply you exceedingly. Dropping down to verse 10. This is my covenant which you shall keep between me and you, and your descendants after you. Every male child among you shall be circumcised. And you shall be circumcised in the flesh of your foreskins, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and you. In other words, what the circumcision is, it's evidence you are in relationship with me. This is evidence that the promise that I made to you is legit. This is real. Verse 12. He who is 8 days old among you shall be circumcised, every male child in your generations. He who is born in your house, or, listen to this, bought with money from any foreigner who is not your descendant. Okay, this is very clear. You look at this, we're dealing with people who are not physical descendants of Abraham, Gentiles. See, you're either a descendant of Abraham or you're not. You're either Israel or you're not. There is Jew and there is Gentile. There's everyone else. And this is explicit. And so as we're going through, even the ones that are bought with money from the Gentiles, who is not their descent, this one is to be circumcised. Moving on to verse 13. He who is born in your house and he who is bought with your money must be circumcised. must be circumcised, and my covenant shall be in your flesh as an everlasting covenant. You look at the text right within Torah, and it could not be clearer. Bring yourself into the first century, put yourself amongst the crowd, and listen to the whispers as Paul and Barnabas are declaring their testimony that they're given. Could you imagine all the whispers and going, what are they talking about? This is not what the Torah says. And then the Pharisees rising up and saying, no, brothers, listen. You're talking about a situation, the exact situation that the Torah deals with. All you need to do, okay, we have Gentiles that are coming into the faith. They're being grafted in. The Torah says they need to be circumcised. The Torah is actually, it's set up for this perfect situation. We have the answer. The fact that the Pharisees are so adamant about what must be done to the Gentiles tells you what they understood was happening to the Gentiles. What do I mean by that statement? I mean that they were coming into Israel, that they were literally coming into Abraham's household. They were not foggy on that matter, which is why they are so adamant about this command. Going on to verse 14, they understood it so well. And the uncircumcised male child who is not circumcised in the flesh of his foreskin, that person shall be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. You remember what they said in Acts 15:1? Unless you're circumcised, you cannot be saved. What did this just say? Unless you're circumcised, you will be cut off. You will not be saved. Exactly what the Pharisees are professing and telling everyone at this council is exactly what the Torah says. Riddle me this. How can Paul possibly go against the letter of the law? Paul is a Pharisee. When you read the book of Acts, what you will realize long into his ministry, he never denounces being a Pharisee. How can he take the stance that he is taking and totally disregarding a blatant commandment in the Torah? You know what the answer to that is? It's really simple. The Apostle Paul saw something. He actually experienced something that was so radical, so miraculous, that he could come up even after knowing the blatant command in Torah and say, well, hold on, time out. The Gentiles, this is a situation, gentlemen. I'm telling you, they don't have to become circumcised. They don't have to do it. The question is what did he see? What did Paul see that can make him take this absolute radical position? Well, let me show you. In Colossians 2:11, we find out. In him, and keep in mind, Paul is writing to Gentiles. In Yeshua, you were also circumcised with the circumcision made without hands, by putting off the body of the sins of the flesh by the circumcision of Mashiach. You want to know what Paul saw? This is what he saw. He saw that they were circumcised, and not just circumcised, but they were circumcised by one no one could possibly be greater than, by God himself. What are you going to do that's greater than God? Nothing. This is why Paul is taking the standpoint. Let's take this discussion into a deeper level, and we can get even a better understanding of how all of this works. And I want to take you to Romans, and there Paul is going to talk about circumcision. And what he says is, blessed are those whose lawless deeds are forgiven, whose sins are covered. Blessed is the man to whom the Lord shall not impute sin. Does this blessedness then come upon the circumcised only, or upon the uncircumcised also? For we say that faith was accounted to Abraham for righteousness. How then was it accounted? While he was circumcised or uncircumcised? Not while circumcised, but while uncircumcised. Fascinating statement. Paul is recognizing his father, Abraham, and all his Jewish brethren. Their father came into right standing with God while not being circumcised. He was uncircumcised. And this is Maaseh Avot Siman Lebanim. Remember that? The deeds or the actions of the fathers are a sign for the children. This is what Paul is saying. He is looking at Abraham and his action and what God did with him as a prophetic template of what he would ultimately do in the future. This is powerful. And he's drawing this in. He says, look at our father. He was justified in the sight of the living God, not while circumcised, but while uncircumcised. And Paul is saying, there's your prophetic template. Now he continues in verse 11. And he received the sign of circumcision, a seal of the righteousness of the faith, which he had while still uncircumcised, that he might be the father of all those who believe, though they are uncircumcised, that righteousness might be imputed to them also. Paul defines circumcision in detail. And pay close attention because you're going to have to take this with you ultimately through the rest of this series. What is circumcision? It is the seal of the righteousness of the faith. The seal of the righteousness of the faith. In other words, it's a trophy. When you have men running in a race, let's see, 100 men, they go and run a race, only one wins. The evidence that the one won is the trophy. He can walk around and he says, I've achieved, I took first place in this race. Well, he has the trophy to prove it. You could have you had 50 guys all saying, well, yeah, we took first place, we did, but they don't have a trophy. This one that took first place, he says, I have the trophy. Understand what circumcision is. It is the trophy. Abraham was given this memorial trophy, declaring his faith in the one true God, that he believed. When God came out and said, I'll make your descendants as stars of heaven, Abraham believed. And because of that, that's why God gave him this trophy. So it is the seal of the righteousness of the faith. Absolutely beautiful.
Hey there, this is Mike at Corner Fringe Ministries. Thanks for watching our video. If you liked the video or it encouraged you, do us a favor. Hit the like button. Don't forget to hit the share. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe button. Now, if you want to watch the rest of this video, hit the button here. And if you want to watch the rest of this series, you can check it out here. And don't forget, you can download the Corner Fringe Ministries app today on any of your Play stores. Thanks for joining us at Corner Fringe Ministries.